Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. In this week's show, we are going to recap the fights and some of the grappling that happened at 1 FC this weekend. Talk about Tamu Musumeci versus Tubby Aliquin and Gary Tonon's phenomenal knee bar win. Talk a little bit about the ADCC Open that happened down in Brazil. And we are also going to talk about some other matches and events that happened this weekend. Kind of a smorgasbord show. And then we're gonna, at the end of the show, talk about some of the names that have been announced for Subversive. Also going to recap some of the matches on Fight to Win 233 this weekend and Twisted Church. Big old show. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, to my co-host,
Miranda.
How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Did I forget anything? I'm doing good.
You forgot a few little things. You forgot the Sprawl and the Burg.
Yep. Talk about Dante Leon versus PJ Barch a little bit.
And we have a couple newsworthy things that are going on. But besides that, that's about it.
So, big show, but not honestly a ton of... A whole host of events we're going to cover, usually one or two matches for each event. Usually we kind of cover in-depth more matches on a card, but there was a lot going on this weekend, so we want to kind of spread it out and talk about some folks that are now on our radar that weren't on our radar before this weekend. But before we get into that, let's go through the news. What do you got for news, Miranda?
Mikey Musumeci. His next 1 FC title contention fight is announced versus Jared Brooks.
Yeah, Jared Brooks, and you looked it up. And we've been watching him for a long time. Yeah. He is the
current 1 strawweight world champion,
which is 125 in 1 FC. He's going up to fight Mikey or to face Mikey in a grappling match at 135 for the flyweight title.
Probably what he walks around. He probably walks around heavier than that, but it's still closer.
Yeah, probably.
You know what I mean?
Probably these guys are really similar in weight, but it's exciting. Yeah. Jared Brooks has been in the UFC, in Bellator, in Ryzen. He had one fight in Ryzen, and in 1 FC as their champion. Super exciting guy, the Monkey God, if you don't know his actual name. He's really fun to watch. Again, with any kind of grappler versus MMA fighter, usually the grappler is going to take that, and Mikey wouldn't. We'll preview it more in depth as it gets closer, but it got announced because Mikey was cornering his sister this weekend.
Yes.
In a ring, actually, not in a cage.
They had I think because their main event was a Muay Thai fight. They had more Muay Thai fights on the card, so that's why they had the... It
was in the ring versus in the cage, but that got announced. I love watching Mikey fight. I literally flew out to Denver, Colorado, for no small part because he was going to be on that card, and Demetrius Johnson, Penche's last fight, was on that card, but flew out to Denver.
You know what? It's weirdly enough, there's a local guy that I sort of know, but I've kind of talked to for a while on and off that's actually on this card in Thailand.
Oh, really?
He's like he was like a Sambo champion.
Huh. In the U.S.?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's on this card, and I just realized because he's been posting because he's in Bangkok right now.
Oh,
and I was like,
fun.
oh. Yeah, he showed up for some seminar at Method years ago.
Huh.
And I was like, I want to follow that guy. His name is like Brett Pastor.
Huh.
And he's like a Sambo champion. And he's going to be on that card, which is a weird kind of local tie.
Again, we work in a very small sport, and these connections.
Every once in a while, you're like, oh, I know such and so that knows such and so. Yeah.
I have a bunch of matches against guys that are like, oh, you're world champion now. That was fun back when I was a blue belt. So what else we got? What else we got for news?
AIGA goes to Flo.
How do we pronounce that? AIGA?
I don't know.
I
think it's letters. I think it's
AIGA.
Yeah.
It's an acronym.
So I think it's an acronym. So I would say it's AIGA.
Okay. So AIGA is coming to Flo.
Because if not, it's AIGA.
AIGA, something like that. We'll figure it out as we get closer to the event. That's the event that has the Moldolfo team on it.
Yes.
That is that crazy stacked team that has like Cole Abate, Taliesin Soares, John Hansen. Who else is on that? Gabriel Sozo's on that card. I think Dante Leon is on that team. It is just it is a team of straight hitters, as it be. And we have no idea what other team you would possibly field against Team Moldolfo to take them out. But now we're going to get a chance to see it broadcast on Flo, which I'm really excited about because it'll put it on a larger platform.
I think it was on YouTube before or something. I don't know. Yeah. It was hard to find. And then it was also not in English, so then it was hard to figure out what the hell was
We've
going
watched
on.
a couple of them on YouTube. I think when Craig Jones had his match on AIGA,
it was on.
We watched it on YouTube, and I've watched a couple of other them on YouTube. I think they had a pay-per-view as well once, or some other place we found it. But it on Flo is a nice central spot for us to throw everyone to go and watch it. So Excited that it'll be easy to find.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, something like this weekend, some stuff was not as easy to find.
Yeah.
But that's huge news. What
What
other
else?
news do we got?
Cody Steele fought for the 4th time.
Jesus.
And
Knocked homeboy out.
Yeah, knocked the guy the fuck out.
Yep.
At Fury Fighting.
Yeah, he's looking really good in Fury, and
yeah,
his
he has.
prep looked good. He weighed in. It was a Sunday night card, which kind of threw me
Yeah.
off because I saw the weigh-ins on Saturday, and he was like, "Tomorrow I do it," and I was like, "Oh, this is a Sunday night card," which I forget that Fury does that sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of the organizations, like not a lot. It happens sometimes,
Yeah.
but it
It's
threw me
also
off.
like timing, because if you think you only have so many venues and you have to put so many matches on, or
Yeah.
there's other events going on.
Well,
stuff like
we've
that.
seen organizations like not Subversive. I'm blanking on
Yeah,
it.
but they do Thursdays, which drives me insane.
The Chaels, Submission Underground.
Yeah.
Submission Underground used to do the grappling event
Oh, yeah,
the
on
day
Sunday.
after. And
Yeah,
they do their
yeah,
MMA
yeah.
card on a Saturday night. We've seen a bunch of other organizations do the same thing where they run their grappling card either the Friday or the Saturday or the Sunday or the Thursday, and then they run their pro card usually on the Saturday for
Fury
MMA.
does the grappling card on Friday and CFFC on Saturday.
Yeah, that's
I
how they
believe.
run that
Yeah.
one. So exciting. Cody Steele's
Yeah.
again looking good. Very curious to see how his career continues to develop. But 4-0
Yep.
looked amazing. Any other news we got?
I think that's it.
All right. Where do you want to start? I'm going to tell you where I'm going to start. I want to
Okay.
start with that crazy shit this weekend.
Okay.
Gary Tonin versus Shamil
Gasanov.
Gasanov. What are you going to call him? Because I heard his name on broadcast a bunch.
Let's just
and
call him the Cobra.
the Cobra. So, yeah, let's call him the Cobra. That's his nickname.
Yeah.
He was 13-0 going in. We don't usually cover a ton of MMA on the show, but typically for guys like Gary Tonin, Buchecha, Hidalgo, big name folks that go into MMA that tend to have a lot of grappling and grapple-heavy matches in their fights, we tend to cover it. So this is one of those fights with Gary Tonin. Gary Tonin was 7-1
Yeah.
coming into this fight. He recently got knocked out 2 fights ago in a run for the title.
Yeah.
And it was curious, like, was he going to be able to get through the Cobra,
And
who's
I
been on a
wonder-
hot streak recently?
And I also wonder if this, because one thing, I don't think you said this earlier, but this was a ring and not, or did you say that? Did you say this was
We mentioned it earlier, but yeah.
Okay.
So Gary's fight was also in a ring, and this was the first time that Gary had ever fought in a ring.
Yeah, and I think it also played into this situation because in a cage, I think Shamil could have put him up against the cage and just kneed the living shit out of him.
Yeah. So in 1FC, knees to the head of a grounded opponent are legal, which
Does
is
not-
uncommon for U.S. viewers. It's
Yeah.
like Ryzen and 1FC are pretty
But
much the only major organizations that
It
have
makes
that.
you not. It makes you not play with people's legs as much.
Nope.
Because you
So-
were right there.
So Gary Tonin shoots a pretty decent takedown,
Yeah.
but gets sprawled on, and then goes to the driven out like double single
Yeah.
leg, goes to his side to like sit out back to guard,
Yeah.
and Shamil goes, "Oh, we're in 1FC, baby," and knees the
the
absolute shit
And
out
I mean,
of him
the
for
whole,
like
the whole first round and like
30 or 40 seconds.
and like the beginning of the second round.
Yeah.
He just took some knees.
There were a
over
bunch
and
of
over.
times in this fight because Gary Tonin has been knocked out before. He got knocked out going for the legs versus Tan Lee,
Yeah.
right? That was
Yeah,
the fight.
yeah.
And I was watching this fight, and so I watched this fight not live. I watched it after I had seen the finish for Gary
See,
Tonin's knee bar.
I watched it live and I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of knees.
So I watched it, and I was like, how the fuck does Gary Tonin go from this to finishing a knee bar? And it's a good fight when you know the result and you're still like glued to it.
Yeah.
He gets kneed a bunch. He gets up. He has a really, really nifty back take off of a stand-up. So Shamil is kind of off to his side,
Yeah.
and Gary Tonin essentially does he stands up and he's in a bent over position.
Yeah.
He does a neat shuck by and then essentially jumps Shamil's
Yeah.
back, and he ends up for,
Oh, yeah.
what, 2 minutes
Yeah, in
of the first round?
The first round, yeah, on his back.
And then Shamil does what you would do in that situation. He kind of stands up, and then he backs his ass up all the way into the stanchion, or
Yeah.
what are they called for the ring? The crossbar.
Yeah, I
The
don't
crossbar of the
yeah.
ring where they're the corner bar.
Corner post.
Corner post of the ring, and he gets backed up there, and he kind of pushes Gary to hold him there so that he can start defending the back
Which is
take
a
and the
smart
body
fucking
triangle.
idea when you think about it.
Well, because then you don't have the momentum for Tonin to like slide you around
And
and,
you don't
try to
have
get you
all
back
the
down.
weight. And you don't have all that weight
Yeah.
on you. I mean, you do, but you don't.
Well,
Like,
you're kind of
yeah.
pressing Tonin up on that that corner bar,
Yeah.
and it was really interesting because again, we don't see. I don't watch as much MMA in rings because it's just less common nowadays. It's mostly cage work, and
it's less common in the United States when you think about it.
Yeah, there are very few organizations in the U.S. and there's no major organizations in the U.S. that run cage.
Especially the Asian promotions that do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's for MMA, it's a lot less safe, so the liability in the U.S. tends to be not as good.
Well, and also you get to work off the cage, where with rings, once you like fall into the ropes, you kind of get fucked. Like they have to.
There's weird resets and how they do it, and you got to get people to not grab the ring, the ropes. And it introduces a whole level of issues that a lot of U.S. promotions just elect to not have to deal with at all.
Yeah.
So he puts Tonin up on this corner post, and the grappling here was really neat because they had the gloves on. You had Shamil from the 2-on-1 grip have an overhook on Tonin's glove, and you saw Tonin for like 30 seconds, like doing everything he could to pull the
you
glove
can't get that glove out. Yeah.
And because Shamil had his arm just glued to his chest, and I was like, why is Tonin doing that weird thing with his arm?
Trying to get his arm out.
And I realized he wasn't, because I couldn't figure out what Tonin was doing for a second, because I was just looking at his shoulder and his head to see if he would turn his chest position off of Samil's back in order to get out. And I was like, what's he doing? Oh, and I looked at the hand. I was like, oh, his hand's stuck.
Yeah. And
he was like doing this weird, if you can see, if you watched it on this show on YouTube, he was doing this with his hand to try to yank it out. And if you've ever grappled with gloves before, you know how utterly annoying that position is.
My coach might be fighting at like 135 locally, so he's grappling with gloves.
Yeah.
And I grab his hands and just hold
You can grab the cuff, you can overhook
the cuff. Well, you overhook
it
so they can't freaking grab their arm back.
It's a whole, especially with the wraps, it introduces a whole, like another level of essentially a big grip and post that you have there. And Shamil just glued Tonin there, and he spent a good 30 seconds not really being able to use the other hand that Shamil had trapped to start putting up rear naked choke offense. They get turned around. There's a really nice back and forth sequence on that post where Tonin turns Shamil to the post, and then Shamil turns him back around, and like it was beautiful footwork and like cage control. Because in MMA, you want to be pushing your opponent into the cage because it makes your takedowns available. It makes their ability to throw offense. It really takes a lot of the way because you can't lean back for knees.
For scoring position, you're supposed to control the middle of the cage.
Your ring generalship is the scoring position. In 1FC, it's less of a criteria, but because aggressiveness is a criteria for them. But if you're pushing your opponent into the cage and controlling, you are winning that round. And so there was 3 or 4 different turnarounds, and they were all kind of a little bit different with the foot placement and where Tonin or Shamil was driving into that crossbar to turn each other over. The round ends. We go to the second round, and I went, all right, so Gary Tonin got his bell rung hard. Looked good, spent a good time on the back, but probably, even though he had the overwhelming grappling offense, didn't have a close choke, and got the shit beat out of him on the ground in a couple of places where I was worried that the ref was going to come in and stop it.
Yeah, because he was defending, but he wasn't. He was, but he wasn't.
He was defending, but he did not look in control of not getting kneed. He put his hand up, and he was doing what you would expect someone like that, like Tonin, to do in that situation. He was intelligently defending, but he was also getting, maybe not rocked, but he was getting hit clean and hard as a grounded opponent.
He admits afterwards.
Yeah, in the post fight, he talked about
he was getting rocked.
He was like, yeah, man, that was. He was. What did he say to the crowd at the end of it? He was like, man, he beat the shit out of me.
Yeah, something like that.
It was. Regardless of how you feel about Tonin, I love how like genuine he is in interviews. And I did an interview with him back in 2019 at ADCC. One of the favorite interviews I've ever done. He was just so genuine and talked through.
Were you around when he did the seminar at Baltimore?
No, I moved here.
I was. That was the beginning of my time.
Yeah, I moved here probably 3 months after that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I missed that seminar. Cool dude. But second round comes along. And I was like, okay, well, is he going to have the same strategy? Is he going to end up on the bottom again? And immediately comes out throwing high-ass teeps and kicks on it. That is a bold strategy. But if you're Tonin, you want to take it to the ground. You want to get it to the ground. Let me kick at a guy that's willing to take me down. It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Yeah.
And Shamil takes him down. And we see Tonin play rubber guard for a second.
Yeah.
And I went, maybe it's real. Maybe this is the match where it happens. And then Shamil does a basic posture up and it's not. It doesn't work. But it was neat. It was neat to see Tonin try to make that off angle in the guard, because had Samil not postured up in the way that he did, Tonin's good enough where he can do a back take off of that. He can get like a go-go plata, or he can get all of the weirdness and scramble game that we know Gary Tonin for. You can get it going off of that setup for a rubber guard, or that really, really high leg over the back of the neck, or leg over the shoulder.
Almost like a Williams guard.
Yeah, he never loops under for the Williams guard, but because I think we've seen Tonin play a Williams guard before.
He plays more of a rubber guard than a Williams guard.
And he'll play it like situationally. He'll keep you postured down.
And they're very similar to one another. Yeah, really, in all honesty.
Clamp guard, Williams guard, Russian guard, rubber guard. They're all kind of the same. Rat guard. They're all kind of the same family.
Rat guard? There's a rat guard.
It's a guy that the guy that invented it had a car crash injury or a motorcycle injury.
Okay.
This 10 Planet guy can't go to rubber guard, so he invented a different kind of range of that guard that he plays called rat guard. It relies less on the flexibility, and so it's another guard in that family. Yeah. But yeah, Tonin will play that occasionally. It was neat to see him in MMA go to that guard and then
it's a good position.
Pull back from
it was a good position.
It keeps the head down and it stops the strikes from being thrown temporarily.
It ties him up.
They get back to you want anything else on the ground here?
Nope.
It's standard MMA guard play where Tonin's defending some strikes and
then he gets
working to get back up.
Then he gets kneed again.
And we go back and I went, oh man, I know that he wins by knee bar. How the hell does he get there?
He's getting some knees.
They get up to the feet, off under the crossbar again, or under the corner post again, and then Tonin basically does the old school Gracie defense drop for a knee bar. Yeah. It's not quite the same. The old school we joke about it on the show. I joke about it in the gym. The old school Gracie self defense is if someone takes your back and like they're going in the place where they could 5-point throw you or suplex you, you just roll underneath them and grab the knee bar, and it works against untrained people, but it is a very low percentage submission versus anyone that has a degree of skill or knows what they're doing. Tonin does this almost from like a lat drop position. He rolls through, does a Granby, goes for the leg, and then he ends up with the knee behind the arm. Yeah. Like the overhook guillotine grip knee bar. And I went, oh my God, he got there. Yeah. I knew he was going to get there because, again, I was not watching the fight live. But the transition, to watch how smoothly he was able to transition from the feet to doing essentially a front Granby roll to end up in the legs, to control both legs. He did the thing that we're seeing so many guys do nowadays, where he rolled through, he got both legs so that Samil could never push away because Tonin had both of his legs. Yeah. He then goes underhook on the other leg. And then the commentary is going, I'm not sure he has the angle. I'm like, he's about to blow his knee in half.
Well, I think Shamil also, once he had both of his legs grabbed, he really didn't.
He didn't grimace. He didn't make a face.
But it looked like he was like, oh, fuck this. And he just like turned over to go out. But I mean, in maybe a heel hook that might have worked because you could clear your knee line and then running man out. Yeah. But because he had both of his legs and it was a knee bar, it was like, oh, you're just going to get a belly down knee bar now.
And then Tonin goes, hey, man, I'm really good at this particular knee bar.
And then he screams very loudly.
And yeah, I heard on the board, it's like overhead cam, and you can see the knee go like the wrong way pretty significantly, and you hear him just scream and start tapping. And I was like, that was gross. Because he had... You know what? It's gross when a guy stone faces it and then scream taps. Yeah. You're like, oh, he was like, most people will grimace in a knee bar because it hurts a lot as it's happening because the ligaments are getting stretched, and even if there's not damage, it usually is a little bit of damage, but people will grimace because it is uncomfortable. To go from stone face to just audible scream tap on a broadcast, like that was uncomfortable. He did stand up after the match, and then Tonin gave a pretty hilarious Gary Tonin style interview, but really, really great transition into the knee bar, and it's nice to see Gary Tonin kind of back, not back in the win column, but back on a win streak in 1 FC. Would love to see him fight for a title.
Do you think Danaher just tells him like he has to eat the knees? Like you just got to eat those knees so you can get your knee bar? Because he's a striking coach.
He is a striking. Gary Tonin, you gotta eat. You gotta eat the knees.
You gotta take some damage.
You gotta eat him for breakfast. You get his knees eventually. I did love Tonin's though. Thank God for submissions. That guy was beating the shit out of me. It was great. It was a match. We don't typically cover a lot of MMA. MMA is sort of was my first love for a long time.
Me too.
Go back and watch.
It was my first love.
Go back and watch this fight. It's a lot of fun. There's some really neat cage wrestling, which we don't really ever get a chance to talk about on the show anymore because very few organizations and events that we cover actually have a wall or a cage with them.
Yeah.
So there's a whole host of different techniques and tactics. And as you have folks, if you have a MMA or, an MMA program at your gym, you may run into folks occasionally and do some wall work. It is a fun realm of grappling.
I might make the kids do it just for shits and giggles.
Wall work's fun, and it's a whole other side of grappling to learn of how do you control the knee line in the middle? How do you get the hooks and how do you press against the wall?
And you can get really cool takedowns off of the wall.
Yeah, if you know how to use the wall. If you don't know how to use the wall, it's this tool it's a whole tool that you can't use. So it is nice on the show to be able to talk about Gary Tonin and Samil Gaslanoff, who now again takes his first professional loss. That dude's a monster.
Yeah.
So look out for those guys.
He was 13-0 before this day. So
yeah, again, it speaks to how good he is. And Miranda picked up on the pre-show and went through his record that his first 10 opponents, almost all of them have a name that end with a V.
Yeah.
That's information that I have to know. So now you have to know it too.
Yes. This is the weird shit that I pay attention to.
Yeah, this is what happens. This is the kind of stuff we talk about in the pre-show. It's look at those opponents. They all have a V in the last name. That's information.
We also looked at the picture and we're like, yes, that is a picture.
Oh yeah, his picture on Samil's Gaslanoff's picture on Topology. I was like, oh, it's Sambo, and then we both looked at it and went, no, that's UWW because the gi because it's a red gi, but he has gi pants on, but the jacket does not have the collar cuff.
The Kirk doesn't have on the cuff
on the shoulder blade, and so in the ring is also you can see that there is some orange on the mat, and so we looked at it and went, that's not Sambo, that's UWW. Welcome to what we look at.
Yes.
So. Also on this card, we had a match between Tammy Musumeci. You have anything else on that for Gary Tonin?
No.
It was fun. You should watch it. If you have Prime, it's free.
You would think after a while that he would just dye his hair to look like, leopard print or something.
That's what I thought the whole time, too.
And it was
alopecia,
I know. Just go with it and make it like a leopard print design at that point.
A lot of old school fighters used to do that, and so it would be, Tony could do that too. Tammy, let's move on. Tammy Musumeci took on Amanda Alequin. These women have been against each other
3 times.
Yeah, was it 3?
Oh no, this is their third.
This is the third time.
This is their third.
A couple of times.
They went against each other. Who's number one? That card before ADCC.
That was again one of the best cards ever.
Yeah.
That was one.
We watched it at your house.
Yeah. It was a 2-day event. It was a 2-day card. That was the one that Duarte. That was the last match we saw from Tim Spriggs.
Yeah, it was Tim Spriggs
versus
took out Duarte,
and everyone was like, "What the fuck?" And then retired on top. And they were in the female side of that. Was the last time that I think we've talked about them on the show.
Yeah.
Or this matchup on the show. They've been against each other two times.
And I'm sure they've been against each other in other tournaments.
Yeah, not a black belts.
Yeah. IBJJF and all that kind of shit.
And recent pro tournaments.
Yeah.
This was great. Amanda comes out super aggressive and pushes Tammy into the corner wall.
Yeah.
And Tammy immediately goes, no, okay, and jumps a pretty deep guillotine.
Yeah.
And I was, as a guillotine connoisseur myself, I was watching this going, okay, so to finish standing guillotine, kind of how Tammy has it, she's a little postured down because Amanda was shooting in.
Yeah.
But she has the angle. She has the set grip, the first arm in, really deep and very nice. And she does what you want to do in that position. You want to go to high elbow whenever you're trying to finish a standing guillotine because you don't have the leverage against.
You want to get a high elbow all the time.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you always want to go to the high elbow.
I agree. You always want to go to high elbow, but especially in a standing guillotine because of the position of your chest in relation to the body. You can't throw your chest over top of them with the mat.
And you need to throw your hips in too.
Yes, and because your hips are controlling them, you have to basically fix the problem of that choking arm with the other arm. So she's arm in, so she goes and takes the arm out, so she still has the set grip in, and she reaches over top of Amanda Alequin's shoulder to try to get the arm in. She kind of gets there for a second, but Amanda does a good job of essentially shucking Tammy off enough from that position to reset the position, get out of the guillotine. They go to the ground. And what came up is the referee for 1FC, they judge grappling matches as a whole. They judge fights as a whole, too.
Yeah, but the grappling matches is 1 10-minute round. 1
10-minute round, and the referee, who's usually a very, very experienced black belt, usually it's Shaolin. I forget who the referee was here, if I can pull it up. Experienced black belt that knows what's going on, called a catch when Tammy had the initial guillotine in. And then apparently, I didn't see this, but the the commentators later in the match said that he'd called a not catch.
Yeah.
Later, potentially removing that. So I think he might have been referring to the other or a grip switch or something in there as they were transitioning from that position, because the first arm and guillotine was clearly in, and Amanda had to, like we talked, defend. As soon as you start defending a sub, that's what calls it.
Yeah, my assumption is a catch is you have to defend submission attempt.
Anytime we go to this rule set, we always sort of talk about the fight to win rules, and the fight to win rules is a submission that results in your opponent being required to defend.
And IBJJF advantages are that way.
Yeah.
You get an advantage, and also, why is it completely falling out of my head?
Orlando?
No, Naga. Naga gives you the point for a submission attempt.
Yes.
And it's that same rule. You have to defend. So as soon as you defend.
That's the rule that we sort of have always used in our heads of, like, you can grab something, but if your opponent doesn't have to defend it, if they're just still moving through whatever they're doing, like if you go to wrist lock someone, they don't have to defend it, they just continue to kind of do what they do. It doesn't really count if it doesn't stop them from what they were doing in the first place. You're not going to get rewarded, because then it prevents all of the dumb, I'm going to grab an ankle lock, but I just really have just a single leg X grip. I'm not doing anything with it. It's just a position. It's not a submission attempt. It prevents a lot of that, because it goes, okay, is the person now fighting the hands for that grip? Okay, that's requiring defense. That will count for a point or a submission attempt or an advantage, depending on what your rule set is, or even favor in the eyes of the judges in the case of 1FC. So there was a kind of a discussion there, and in the commentary staff said that they were going to clarify with the referee. So hopefully on the next 1FC broadcast, when there's grappling, the commentators will clarify that. Again, I've found the 1FC commentators to be phenomenal most of the time. So I hope that they will actually do that, and they typically tend to remember and watch their old footage and remember what they were going to say and carry on the story for these matches. So rest of the match, mostly leg work.
They made a meme of it where they were just rolling. Because there was a lot of, there was a meme going around of them just literally rolling. Because like one would go after the other one's back and they would roll, and then the other one would go after the other one, and it was just like a little
top
rolling around.
Yeah. That was sort of the majority. It was probably 7 or 8 minutes of the match was
Tubby attempted to go after a leg one time when like she was trying to get out of Tammy's back. She just like went for one of her legs, and that was like the only real submission attempt I saw.
I don't think they called a catch for that though, did they?
They didn't, because I don't think it was really that tight, but it was
an attempt at a submission at a leg lock.
It was like, oh shit, she might actually get it, but no.
Yeah.
But Tammy does do some really nice back takes from like a
crab ride and like leg drag.
You even know what I'm talking about.
I do.
You can't even see me trying to do crab ride with my feet.
We watched the same match. Overall, I thought the match was a lot of fun. It was definitely at the beginning and the end of the match, it was more submission oriented, but I actually did really enjoy the middle of the match. You weren't a huge fan of being able to hear Mikey super clearly on the broadcast, but
Mikey's coaching, man. It's something. That's all I gotta say.
It's less coaching. It's more encouragement.
It's encouragement.
He's just yelling.
He's like, Tammy, you're in a really good position. Tammy, you're so strong. Tammy, this is the best place to be. I actually really
enjoyed hearing Mike. I was like, man, that's your brother is in your corner. Your younger brother is in your corner for this.
I don't know.
Again, what are you going to yell at your world champion sister? Like
time
and what to do. Like, what do you? And there was a couple pieces where he gave a little bit of technical advice in the legs, like towards I think the beginning of the match. You did, and you could hear him super clearly on the broadcast, which I liked. And at the end, Tammy has a really, really nice counter berimbolo from a crab ride to the back. She gets Amanda's back, starts throwing the first arm in for the rear naked choke, but isn't really ever able to get the other arm cemented. And she just doesn't have enough time. Tubby does a great job of getting to one hip so that Tammy can't like throw both hooks in and flatten her out completely. Even if she's kind of flat, Amanda is kind of flattened out a bit. She's still enough on her side that Tammy can't get the leverage in to use the one arm for the rear naked choke, and that the match kind of expires as they go through that. I thought it was very clearly for Tammy Musumeci from that first sequence and that last sequence. Tubby did have some good topside passing. Tammy also had some good passing attempts throughout the match, but generally the framework of the match was the sub attempt, the back take, and then
And then
a lot of mixed leg entanglements.
She was controlling most of the movement.
Yeah, Tammy was.
Most of the action was being controlled by Tammy.
Yeah.
Amanda did a really good job kind of countering everything, but the problem being a counter fighter is that you're not.
Until you win with the counter, you're not usually going to be given the win.
Yeah, you're not the aggressive party in that situation.
Yeah. So overall, again, a fun match. I enjoyed it. Did they interview Tammy in post-fight? I think they just moved on.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I don't know. I watched it. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't think they did because I'm curious to see who they're going to put Tammy against next. I would assume that I think she is called for wanting a title in that division, and I think it would be really reasonable to put her up against it. Yeah. So I would like to see that.
So it would be women's 125. That would be what? That would be what's called?
Bantamweight.
But no, what I mean is that's Danielle Kelly? No, Danielle Kelly's 115.
Strawweight, I think.
Yeah. I think she's 115.
Which that'd be a fun match. I'm just not sure if Kelly is sized enough to be able to take her on.
I don't think Kelly's going to do 125.
Yeah, because Kelly I think walks around comfortably at like 112 or something like that.
Yeah, she's small.
Again, it's a dream match if they can get it, but I think that.
No, I was trying to think of who else is there. Bia Basilio's there, but I think she already went against Bia.
They did. Yeah. Yep. So again, they're building out those divisions. This is sort of always what happens at the beginning of a division being built out. Is there's a few matches.
Oh, that's the other thing. Remember they added a bunch of people into 1FC? Okay, let me find the picture.
You find it while I stall for time.
Yeah. I sent this to the group chat.
Yeah. So 1FC is announced. Basically, I think they added 3 more male fighters for their roster, and they were all really, really exciting names. We had Taliesin Suarez added, we had Diego Pato Oliveira added, and we had Lucas Pinheiro. I love that Lucas Pinheiro got added to this because also it's funny, they all have their gis on in the picture, even though 1FC is all no gi right now. They potentially could do gi, but I doubt 1FC would do gi currently, just because of the speed, and they tend to like faster paced action. Understandably, they're
and you have some problems.
Grappling organization. But all 3 of those guys are great. Lucas Pinheiro has just retired from IBJJF after winning a world title. So it is funny to have him immediately go, well, I mean, I can get the bag in 1FC, so let me go over and like.
Because it's the money.
But it makes sense. Again, retirement is great, but making money is greater. So and if you can go and fight Mikey, that would be a fun match to see.
Number 1, there's money. Mm-hmm. Number 2, there's no USADA.
There's no USADA. You got to do what you got to do. I love how jacked everyone is in 1FC. It's phenomenal.
I'm for it.
We're all for it. So I think it would be great to see a guy like Lucas Pinheiro or Taliesin Suarez take on Mikey Musumeci. I think those guys are both on the smaller side, very similar size to Mikey, and even Pato. Yeah. All 3 of those guys.
Pato's a little smaller, but
I think Pato's bigger than those guys.
Oh, you think so?
I think so, yeah.
I don't remember.
But they're all, again,
he's not Rooster. He's like light feather.
Mm-hmm. They're all in Mikey's weight class. Yeah. Those are all 3 phenomenal contenders that I would love to see Musumeci face. And they are really working to build out that division.
And Musumeci is jacked.
Jesus, yeah.
He's like a jacked.
His picture with the belt is just like, he's got extra abs in that picture.
I don't know how you get that many abs.
Yeah, it's crazy. So 1FC is putting it on. Watch their events, watch their cards. Friday morning fights for us. It's always a great way to start my Friday while I work and have it on the background.
This was
this is the main card. Yeah. This was a fight night.
Yeah.
But their Thai events are always on Fridays, and it's been
Friday mornings. Yeah,
Friday mornings.
We used to watch them when we lifted. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I still watch them
back in the day,
and it's a lot of fun. So that was 1FC. Watch it. It's on Prime. If you have Prime, you have 1FC. It's a little hard to search sometimes, but you should be able to just click 1FC and click the most recent fight card, and it will be there. Miranda, what do you want to go to next?
I think because of Gary Tonon's knee bar, we should go to Fight to Win, where there was at least 2 knee bars.
There was it was a knee bar weekend.
It was a knee bar weekend.
Fight to Win, 233 in Sacramento, California. A couple of matches on this one to talk about, but the one we really want to kind of highlight was the match with
Damian Ramos versus Anthony
Damon Ramos.
Damon
Ramos versus Anthony Maceldo.
I thought it was Mercado.
It is Mercado.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just can't read.
You made it sound all fancy.
I made it sound all fancy. Damon Ramos, you know him. Went to ADCC.
Yes.
Second place winner.
Yeah.
Second place medalist at trials.
Yeah.
Very, very good up and coming grappler that we've covered for a while. He's put on some really fun matches. He's a guy that when we talk to a lot of the heavyweights at plus 99 kilos, he's the guy they go, watch out for him, watch out for him. And I've gotten it from three different heavyweights, 3 or 4 different heavyweights I've talked to that are of that level in ADCC or trials.
The other
medalists.
thing, and this match is a good one to look at and see, like, for as big as he is, he moves like a lightweight. Like, he moves like so smoothly and so like eloquently. For a big man, it's scary.
That's what everyone brings up every time you guys say, hey, watch him. Why? He moves really fast for a big dude.
Yeah.
And that was on display in this match. He basically he snaps Anthony down, and Anthony kind of pulls off of a guillotine attempt, gets to the ground, and then Damon from the top
just
pretty much controls the entirety of the match, either with passing, sustained passing.
But like there was a couple times where he did almost like a hip switch pass. And like I can do a hip switch pass, but I'm a small woman. And he's like a 200-pound man.
He's like 230.
Doing like a hip switch pass in the air and then landing. It's wild.
It kind of reminds you of what Herber Santos just looked like. Where you guys would pull. This didn't happen in the match, but it reminds me of the same style of movement where it's like, oh, you're just not there. Where guys would pull on Herber Santos, and he would realize you were jumping guard on him. He would, in the midair of you jumping towards him, he would push you out, he would sprawl on you and turn, and he would land in side control and pass you off of your own guard jump.
That's what my coach was trying to get me to do on Sunday. It was a lot harder than it seems.
It is insanely, as a smaller guy that used to have a good back, it's insanely hard to do.
It's probably why my back's jacked up.
So to see the giant guys like Ramos be able to move at that speed and in sort of that way, it is telling of the kind of the level of athleticism that these guys are at. Ramos looks good most of the match. He's passing, putting forward pressure. He's kind of turning to the back. He never really gets the back. He never really gets sustained top position.
And Anthony does a really good job of getting his guard back or trying to get his guard back. I mean,
I think there's one or two times. There's 2 times in the match he does.
It's not a points match, so it doesn't really matter, but he does successfully attempt to get it back a few times and then get it past, which is something. But yeah, Damon Ramos then at the very end does that step
in the
back.
last like minute.
Yeah, does the step back knee bar. The
camera angle is amazing for this as well.
Yeah,
he just gets up, he steps his knees behind like he's going for like a saddle entry almost.
Yeah,
and then he rolls all the way over. He rolls to a super deep knee bar on that bottom side and finishes a knee bar.
Yep.
It was great. It was, again, more from Damon Ramos.
I like the fact that
to see him.
Damon Ramos at the very end did that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he was going to win anyway. So the fact that he actually in the last few seconds was like, fuck it, let me see what I can do.
You heard the corner or his coach yell, Damon, you got a minute left. And then I think 3 or 4 seconds after that, he goes, okay, sits back for this leg lock and knee bar. And it's a beautiful sit back. Has the control that he needs and finishes. But I like that you heard the coaching inform the tactics from the athlete. The athlete hear the coach and then change their tactics regarding like, okay, I know I have a minute left. I'm on fight to win. I want to put a stamp on this and I want to submit because I am on fight to win. That's why I'm here. Let me go for it. So yeah, great match from Damon Ramos. We're going to continue to see much more from him. Also on the card, we had Nicole Johnson versus Joy Pendle. Joy Pendle took a decision win over Johnson.
I wanted to jump to Vinicius Nunes.
How do you say that?
So in it said one there it says Vinny, but on this it said Vinicius. Yeah. Nunes versus Fabricio Silva. It was a black belt gi match. It's not on your list. But he gets a knee bar from 50-50.
This was like what?
And it was pretty nice.
3 matches before that?
It was right after. It was Ramos gets a knee bar, and then Silva gets a knee bar, and then they kept on going.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, it's a day of knee bars.
We're seeing a lot more knee bars nowadays I think we've ever seen before. I think people are getting so good at defending the heel hooks that people are figuring out, I got to go higher up on the leg first and can fall back for other stuff later. But we're seeing a lot more. Seeing a lot more knee bar finishes as of late. And it's cool. I love knee bars.
I'm happy about knee bars. I like knee bars.
They're great. And then the main event for this was Marcus Torregrossa versus Dom Hoskins. Marcus Torregrossa is the current champion of that division.
Yep.
And he does what Marcus Torregrossa does. He controls. He gets to the top.
Dude, his transition for this. So as a jiu-jitsu,
he finishes an armbar.
Yeah, it's an armbar. But as a jiu-jitsu person, when you roll with your coach and they move so slowly, but you have no ability to do anything.
Like watching Lovato roll.
Yeah, the way he got this arm, he got his arm. He was in north-south. He got the arm like underneath his arm and like trapped it from north-south, and then he just gingerly sits back and just pulls this guy in and arm bars him, and he does it so slowly. I'm like, which is
crazy because I think Dom now has the most matches on Fight to Win in Fight to Win history.
Yeah, I mean, he's done a shit ton of matches.
I think he has the most of anyone in Fight to Win history.
I mean, competes all the time, wins all the time, does a lot of gi matches. He's a seasoned competitor.
And to see Torregrossa go trap.
Oh,
turn,
he also did, instead of like grabbing the leg, like when he had the arm bar and he was trying to break the grip, instead of like grabbing the leg, he grabbed the hole in your gi pants to your side. Mm-hmm. He grabbed that, and like that's how he holds. I
don't know if you can grab that.
I've seen it in IBJJF. I've never seen him DQ anybody because what's it called? Do that. The Meows do that.
Yeah,
they grab the little like.
There's the little triangle hole where the pants open and where the string ties through.
It's like the same thing as your butt grip because they can grab butt grip.
Yeah.
So he grabbed that grip, and I was like, that's the grip.
It's a neat, it's a rope grip essentially. It's just the rope of the pants there, but it's.
Well, I think he had some material too. I mean, he kind of had a handful
he
right
reached
there.
down in that spot to grab.
Yeah, but it was interesting to see that rather than grabbing like
looping for the pants or looping for the knee. Or
going for like the material right beside your knee that they normally grab, because he just grabbed that and then he like fought it with one arm. It was pretty wild. Yeah. I just think the sit back was interesting because.
It was so controlled, and it wasn't speed.
It was so controlled, and it was relatively slow. And I was like, wow, he has so much control because dude didn't even, like, have the ability to sit up on that, Anyway.
It was neat. It was a. That's why we're going to talk about it. It was a really nice finish from Torregrossa. He retains that title.
And it was simple. It wasn't, like, a complicated anything.
I can show this to one of my students and go, do what Marcos Torregrossa does. Yeah. See the armbar, it's going to be fast. Just pull your leg. If you control them well enough, you can keep them flat, and then you can get the arm. Yeah. And the grip fight was neat too because it wasn't like a protracted grip fight. He kind of just fought the grip with one or two movements, and then he had the arm out. He had Dom's grip broken, and then went for the finish, and that was it.
And he had he didn't have the foot over the head. He had the foot in the armpit.
Yeah,
which meant he could kind of get up, but maybe that's why he could sit so slowly. Is because the
leg could push him away.
The leg was like across his body as opposed to across his head.
Yeah,
so it was interesting. That was why he could sit down. I don't know.
It was a neat.
Think about that.
It was a neat finish. I wish we had a little bit of a closer camera on it, but again, love watching Marcos Torregrossa finish. He's got some really cool finishes as the champion here in Fight to Win, and so cannot wait to see who he goes up against next. As for Fight to Win, also this weekend. So let's move through. I think
we have two
matches on.
Do you want to do that, or do you want to do the two pay-per-views that we just wanted to briefly?
Let's run through the matches on. Okay. Let's make the matches we're going to cover for ADCC. Okay. ADCC had an open in Brazil. Allegedly, you're hearing a lot of reports that monsters came out. And if you look through all of the results,
I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And then I realized what you mean.
All the results on Flow Arena. There are a lot of names that I'm unfamiliar with, so I am sure that is correct.
Melky Graval brought like a whole crew.
Yeah. All those guys wear their belt for no-gi.
Yeah, they do.
I thought weird. That was a thing that only Gracie Bada guys did. But yeah, a bunch of folks had like the no-gi stuff on, and then they had a belt of their their gi belt around their waist, which was kind ADCC you can do.
Which was kind of funny. The kids that are in orange belts.
Yeah.
It was like you're fighting an orange belt.
I know. Orange belts, bring it.
I know they do. I don't want to go against an orange belt.
We had so we're just going to cover because there's so many divisions for the Opens because they're every 5 kilos. Yeah. That'd be a whole show in itself. We're just going to talk about the absolute for the men and for the women at the advanced divisions, the cash divisions. Oh, man, there's a name here for the women. We're going to start at the women's absolute champion because Ariel Laverne from Six Blades defeated Mariana Julia de Silva Goncalves from the FloGrappling. And what do you think, Laverne? Laverne was 60 to 80 pounds, 100 pounds.
Heavier.
Smaller.
Oh, yeah.
Smaller.
Yeah, Laverne was definitely smaller.
Laverne hits, and the camera angle is pretty not great for this match.
She hits a lat drop.
Yeah.
And which I was
lat drop on a woman about 100 pounds
which
heavier
kind of
than you.
makes me want to do. I've always wanted to do lat drops, and I've never been good at them, but I've always wanted to do them. And this makes me want to do them.
So Mike Ponderosa is now the content director for AIGA and ADCC, and he was mat side filming these.
Yeah.
I hope that he has video of this lat drop, because again, I want to see this lat drop. She hits a great lat drop. Laverne gets to the top eventually after some while, kind of gets into a top half guard and finishes a far side straight armbar for the win here. But the lat drop was definitely the thing that I was most excited about. Also, third place, Maine and Miranda has a bunch of other characters at the back of her name. She has a sigma and an infinity symbol and an E with a triangle above the top of it. I'm not sure if that needs to get fixed in flow or not.
What is that's a? Oh man, I should know what that's called. That's the E with the hat.
Yeah, it's the hattie.
It's the hattie.
It's an oreti.
Yeah. That's what it's called.
So yeah, that was the women's final. It was great. For the men's final, we had so look out for this guy. Caio de Araujo Gabriel, and he took on Henrique Sassone.
Yeah.
Because Henrique is now not in IBJJF for a couple of years.
For some reasons. And Caio, how do you pronounce his first name? I don't know.
I'm going to call him de Araujo or Gabriel, because Caio, K-A-U, and then an A with a tilde over it.
Do you know what I want to call him, but it's kind of not good?
Let's do it after the show.
Caio?
Nope. Caio. Could be Caio.
Caio is the worst cartoon ever.
It's not a great
it's a horrible cartoon.
So Gabriel takes on Henrique Sassone, and he is significantly undersized versus Sassone. We've seen Sassone in ADCC events before for trials. He looked great. Gabriel is not a guy that, going into this today, Miranda and I are familiar with. He's a Miki Galval. He's a Milky. Give me the guy's name.
Melky
Galval guy. And
I think he's a brown belt. He had a brown belt. He has a brown rash guard on. Oh, he had a brown belt.
He had a brown belt on. Yeah.
This match he does not.
Yeah, he does.
I wonder. No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does.
Not against Sassone.
Yeah.
I don't think he does against Sassone. Yeah, he's not wearing it this time. He was wearing it in his other matches, but not this match.
In his other matches in Absolute earlier in the day, he was wearing it.
So
no, he is right there. He's still wearing. Yeah, he is wearing it.
That's wild.
All right.
Can you grab a belt?
You cannot grab anything in ADCC, any rash guard, any clothing, defensively or offensively.
How about hair? Can you grab hair?
You can grab your own hair.
Okay.
Because I've asked about this in the rules meetings, but you cannot grab your opponent's hair.
Okay. Good to know.
Actually, so I say that. I asked. I never got a clear answer, and it's an item I have to readdress. So I do not know if you can actually grab your own hair or not in ADCC. But you cannot grab any clothing defensively or offensively in ADCC.
Did you ask that question purely for your wife, who would probably try to choke someone out with her hair?
No, I asked it for me because if I have to judge and referee, I want to be able to make an accurate.
Who the fuck is going to use their?
I don't know. I don't know, but I want to have an answer for it.
Okay.
I want to have an answer for it if it comes up, because if they're going to run hundreds of events, it will come up eventually. Gabriel has really good wrestling. And I was surprised at the speed that he was able to get into Sassone's hips. And
when you watch that show, when they went through their training, like, he made them wrestle all the time.
Yeah.
He had wrestling practice, like, all the time.
And that shows. Again, he is very quick. You can tell he is schooled in wrestling, and Sassone put a ton of pressure on him. And every single time, Araujo was able to get up. He got out of back mount two separate times. Yeah. He was controlled. He definitely did not win this match by any stretch, but he was in it the entire time, and we know how much of a monster Henrique Sassone is. For him to be unable to put Gabriel away, and for Gabriel to put up as much offense on the feet and in the scrambles as he did, he had two really, really exciting leg lock attempts from like a single leg X, then an outside angle.
The juicy Sassone just kind of like shook him off.
Yeah, he just pulled out and yanked out. But again, I was super impressed with the speed that Gabriel had entering into those legs, and definitely a guy to watch. Caio de Araujo Gabriel.
And I mean, he went through a long list of absolute people before he got there.
Yeah, and he was significantly smaller than Sassone, so that should kind of.
He was in 66.
No, I think that was a different guy. So we tried to pull his record.
Oh yeah, that was another guy.
So in the pre-show, we tried to pull more from him. But there's a lot of guys that have a really similar name. There's like a Caio de Araujo Barbosa.
I finally found him, but he just goes by the Caio Gabriel.
Caio Gabriel.
That's what he goes by.
Yeah.
And I found him, but it's not. You couldn't. I don't know. I couldn't find very much information about him. Let's say that.
He's very good. we mark it here. You'll see more from him. Sanhinic Sassoni takes that via points or decision. I don't remember exactly, but he clearly takes it. But keep an eye out for Caillou Gabriel.
Yeah, that's the division he won. I'm trying to see. I thought that was what's it called for a second, but it wasn't.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I thought
Diggle.
Yeah, I thought that was Deal for a second, but it's not Deal. Some other guy. Okay. Anyway.
So that was ADCC Brazilian Open. A lot of really cool matches that came out of that. A lot of people that I'm not familiar with that I'm going to watch throughout the week because there are monsters brewing in Brazil, and I'm happy that ADCC is back down there hosting Opens because it will only bring the level of competition up for the trials that are coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, and hopefully we get some new blood in the game.
Mm-hmm. Always a lot of fun. So next we're going to talk about a rematch between PJ Barch and Dante Leon.
At Sprawl in the Burg.
24/7 FC, Sprawl in the Burg. They ran a grappling card the night before they ran an MMA card.
Yeah,
and I love that organizations are doing this.
And
it was a Pittsburgh
cage.
card.
Yeah, it was in a cage.
Mm-hmm.
They give out some big-ass knives.
Yep, so Dante Leon won a knife. This is, I think, the 4th or 5th match these guys have had.
Yeah, they've went against each other a bunch of times. They went against each other at Nogi Worlds.
In 2021, and then again...
And then ADCC.
Grapple Fest in 2022. ADCC.
Did they go against each other?
Yeah, right here.
Oh, yeah. And PJ Barch won that one. Okay.
Yeah.
So they kind of were back and forth. I thought they were kind of back and forth.
Yeah, they're back and forth, but it's a great match to make. Dante Leon takes this one.
Yeah.
By decision.
And allegedly he's gone back to 155.
Yo, he has the title fight with Carlston coming up at Hughes #1. So this was at 170.
Yeah.
He's bouncing back to 55. So again, always love watching these two guys go at it. I do not think this will be the last time we see him go at it.
I started watching because I was behind in my Pedigo submission fighting show.
Mm-hmm.
Daisy Fresh. And they had a Dante Leon episode.
Yep.
And it was talking about how he became under Pedigo was that he would go to tournaments by himself all the time, and that Keith was the only one that would help him.
Yeah.
And that's how he finally found his way to them, which I think is a cute story.
It is a cute
nice
story.
story.
I also like that Heath like takes guys in like that.
Yeah.
That like willing to put the work in, show up.
Great.
I love that we have a guy like that in our community doing that.
Yeah.
So that's what we got for 24/7 FC Sprawl in the Burg. On Twisted Church, they also had a card this weekend. The main event for that one was Oliver Taza versus Chris Wojcik.
Yeah.
Oliver Taza takes he
wins. I don't know.
We don't have a result for this yet.
I think it's a decision, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, it wasn't listed in where we saw it. We saw that Taza took the victory, but I don't have a method of victory right now.
I just kept on seeing pictures of Taza with his hand up. I couldn't see more than that.
And that's kind of as far as we got.
Yeah.
So that was this weekend's events. Did we forget anything, Miranda?
I think we got everything on my list.
Okay, so coming up this next weekend, we have another combat jiu-jitsu event for Subversive. There are some crazy names announced for this one. Want to read through them?
I think this is going to be fun.
This will be fun. We'll probably cover it because you love combat jiu-jitsu.
I do, because I love people watching them slap the shit out of each other.
We got Andre. So we're going to introduce the big names. We don't have teams. We don't have brackets. We don't have anything else. We just have the posters for who has been announced.
It can't be a bracket because they're not all the same size. Like, some of these guys are a little.
So I assume it's teams, though. So it's like who's your. So usually Subversive is by 3 members of a team, and then they fight the other 3 members of the team at the weight class.
It looks like all either mushroom companies or weed companies.
So we have Andre Pontes in this. We have Barry Yoshida, who has some great combat jiu-jitsu matches you should watch. We have Herman Toledo. We have we have Dominic Mayida. We have Alex Enriquez. We have Ian McCall coming out, which I haven't seen Ian McCall in.
I haven't seen him
since his fight at Ryzen versus Metal Kate. Yeah. That's the last time I remember him fighting.
Bree Stick, that's all the way over. She's a MMA fighter that does combat jiu-jitsu. She's really, really good.
We have Lucas, the Last Samurai Smolka. He had a bunch of fights in the UFC a couple of years ago. I think he's nowadays probably not in the UFC for a couple of years, but
Sloan
very
Climber,
good.
That just looks like he would slap the shit out of you.
Mm-hmm. I would not want Sloan Climber to hit me. He's like literally caveman.
He is.
Like I would not want Sloan Climber palm striking my face.
No, not at all.
But in this as well, a guy we saw on the event on the Fight Pass Invitational that kind of surprised us, Fedor Nikolov, the guy that took out Haisem Rida in overtime in that kind of odd match between those guys. But Fedor was able to take
hurt after that match. I thought his next match,
Big Dan kneebarred him.
Yeah. So I guess he didn't get that hurt.
Hey, I hope he's not hurt because, again, he surprised me. He's a guy I would be excited to see more from. We know he's going to throw a ton of Kane Basame, like the flying scissor leg takedown at guys. Also in this card, we have Gabriel Checo and Adam Manzin.
Okay, so we have more people, too. Go to the next page. There's like a couple pages, I think.
Amanda Lowen's in this.
Yeah.
Beverly Davis is in this. Lucine Antunes is in this. Mela Couto is in this. Let's see, who else?
Kyle Chambers is in this.
Adam
Bradley is in this.
Ian Butler, Matt Cox is in this.
Yeah. I mean, it's
a giant. It's Subversive brings it out.
Yeah.
And
Noah Chen, remember him?
Oh yeah.
He's the one B team guy, right? Isn't he B team? Yeah, he's
that's Joseph Chen.
Oh, I thought Noah Chen was. Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think it's a different gentleman.
Yeah, okay.
But it should be fun.
Yeah.
Again, Omar Saba's on this as well. It'll be great. They usually are a lot of fun. Subversive really tends to bring out high level guys, fun production. So with the fight to win guys, so look for it. We can't preview it because we don't have any matchups yet. But watching Sloan Climber, Palm Striker guy is always fun.
So it will be this weekend. So
yeah,
hopefully we get some sort of information. Oh no, that was the thingamajig was the 20th. Mm-hmm. The super fight was the 20th. And Kemoy Anderson's on it. He was at the seminar I was at over the weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he has some crazy hair. He has like the red black kind of.
Oh yeah, he does that sometimes.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. That is July 22nd, and I think that's on pay-per-view zero on subversivebjj.com. I don't know if it's on Fight. I don't think it's on Fight TV. It says
at Fight TV right there.
Yeah, I think it's on Fight TV.
I think it is because when I looked at Fight to watch Fight to Win, it was there.
Okay, so it'll be on Fight to Win. It'll be on Fight TV.
Fight TV.
Anything else we have to preview?
I don't think so because it's the kids for IBJJF this weekend.
It's kids pans.
So yeah, and I don't think anything. There might be a Fight to Win card, but we wouldn't know what it is yet.
Yeah. You got anything fun going on this? I know you're about to fly out.
I'm flying out to IBJJF Orlando.
Yep. To get your points.
Get my points
before Masters Worlds.
Try to beat some people up.
That should be fun.
Should be entertaining.
I'm not doing that. I am.
So I found out, randomly. Doubletree by Hilton has what they call fitness rooms. It's a room with a gym inside of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you gotta take some pictures.
It has like
I'm curious.
Has like a bike and has like all the stuff with it.
Doubletree by Hilton has those?
Yeah.
Huh.
At the Orlando Resort.
Did you get one?
Like, I want that room. Yes, I did because I was like, if I have to cut weight, I can do it in my room.
Oh, that'd be nice. That would be really nice to
I know, that's
do in your
like,
room.
I know. I don't fucking want to deal with other people.
That's very reasonable. Yeah, when you're cutting weight.
Well, I'm not. So I'm on weight as it is.
That's good.
So it's always good.
So it should be fun. I'm not doing anything this week. I got some personal stuff that I gotta handle this week. But other than that, everything's good, and just looking forward to watching Subversive this weekend.
Yep, it'll be fun.
That's all I got.
I don't think I have anything either.
All right. As always in the show, I'm your host Maine. My co-host
Miranda.
We have the Grappling Rewind. See the mat. What it is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.